Deshaun Hayes had never been the flashy type. He didn't chase spotlights or attention. He didn't wear jewelry or post selfies captioned with hashtags about the grind. He lived his life in quiet devotion, to his work, to his word, and above all to his wife. At 36, Deshaun was a lead site foreman for a respected construction company in Houston. His career was the kind built with calloused hands and early mornings, 18 years of sweat, blisters, and slowly earned respect. He had started at the bottom, shoveling dirt and hauling rebar in the unforgiving Texas heat. Now he was running million-dollar commercial renovations. But the title never changed him. He still brought coffee to the younger guys, still cleaned his own boots, and never left a voicemail from his wife unanswered. His wife since they were barely old enough to vote. Their first dates had been dollar menu fries and half-tanked cars, but they dreamed big together. He remembered when she'd laugh at the simplest things, when she used to hold his hand just to feel close. For Deshaun, she wasn't just his partner, she was his compass, his reason for the grind. He left her love notes in her lunchbox every Monday, paid the mortgage early every month, never missed an anniversary, even the small ones. And Malik, he was more than a friend. Malik was family, a brother not by blood, but by a bond formed in childhood and forged through decades of loyalty. Deshaun had named him godfather to the children they hadn't yet had. There was never a doubt in his mind. Those two people would never hurt him. Until the night everything changed. It had been raining hard that evening in Louisiana. Deshaun was driving home early from an out-of-state project, eager to surprise Tasha and Malik, who were supposed to be staying over to help fix a leaky sink. But he never made it. A stolen SUV, driven by a teenager high on adrenaline and recklessness, blew through a stop sign and slammed into Deshaun's truck. His vehicle flipped 3 times before landing in a water-filled ditch. He woke up days later in Baton Rouge General Hospital. His chest had been split open and wired shut. His ribs were shattered. A titanium rod had been drilled into his leg. He couldn't speak at first, his throat ravaged by the intubation tube. Every breath was war. Every shift in the bed sent fire up his spine. But his first thought wasn't about the pain. It was Tasha. He tried to ask for her. Nurses called. Left voicemails. No one came. Not Tasha. Not Malik. At first, Deshaun made excuses for them. Maybe the hospital had the wrong number. Maybe they were back in Houston, caught up in chaos, not knowing he was alive. He clung to that hope like a lifeline. He had to believe it. But the days dragged on, and no one showed up. When he could finally speak, his voice broken and raw, he whispered, "Call her again." Still no reply. Weeks passed. On the day they removed his chest tubes, Deshaun reached for his phone with trembling hands and sent a simple text. Tasha, I'm alive. Need you. Please call. No reply. He called Malik. Straight to voicemail. He spiraled. Lying alone in a sterile hospital room, wrapped in pain and confusion, Deshaun began questioning everything. The silence hurt worse than the broken bones. Worse than the near-death trauma. He wasn't just injured, he was abandoned. A month later, after being cleared for outpatient care, he took a medical transport van back to Houston. He held a bouquet of lilies in his lap the whole way, imagining her reaction, imagining a warm embrace, an apology, any sign she'd been waiting. But when the van pulled into the driveway, his heart stuttered. Malik's black Chevy Tahoe was parked outside, the one Deshaun had co-signed for. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the home smelled faintly of lemon cleaner. Soft jazz played from a speaker. The living room looked untouched by grief. And then he saw her, Tasha, sitting on the couch, pregnant, visibly, unmistakably at least 7 months along. And beside her sat Malik, casual, relaxed. His arm draped over the back of the couch like he lived there. Deshaun froze. The flowers slid from his fingers. His crutches wobbled. Tasha looked up. No guilt, no surprise. just weary annoyance. You weren't supposed to come back, she said flatly. Malik shifted in his seat, shame flickering across his face but never reaching his voice. Deshawn's voice cracked. What is this? No one answered. Tasha exhaled and rubbed her belly. We moved on. You were gone. I thought life had to keep moving. Deshawn looked to Malik. You were my brother. Malik finally spoke. It just happened, man. The world tilted. The betrayal was complete. His wife, his best friend, the home he had bled for, all taken while he lay broken and alone in a hospital bed. He didn't remember leaving, just stumbling out into the night, body shaking, soul unraveling. He checked into a run-down motel on the edge of town. Scratchy sheets, flickering lights, a half-dead vending machine. He stayed there for weeks, unable to eat, unable to sleep. The pain in his leg flared constantly, but it was nothing compared to the pain in his chest. Then came the bills, the hospital, the mortgage. He called the bank, only to learn Tasha had refinanced the house into Malik's name using power of attorney Deshawn had signed in the hospital, trusting her. She had given away everything. He sold his truck, sold his tools, tried to apply for disability and unemployment. Every rejection felt like confirmation. He was no longer needed, no longer wanted. Tasha and Malik were thriving. New baby boy. A renovation business. Malik using Deshawn's old client list. Tasha glowing on Instagram. They didn't even block him. He wasn't their enemy. He was irrelevant. Then one day Vernon called. An old mentor. A man who taught him how to read blueprints and respect a foundation. I heard, son, Vernon said. Come stay with me. Ain't no shame in starting over. Deshawn packed a single bag and took a bus to Baton Rouge. Vernon gave him more than shelter. He gave him work, restoring an old church, one cracked beam at a time. It wasn't glamorous, but it was holy work, healing work. Over the next year, Deshawn rebuilt more than a building. He rebuilt himself. No social media. No explanations. No bitterness. Just work. Dust and sweat and slow, steady redemption. 2 years passed. Deshawn saved every dollar. Bought a van. Then a trailer. Registered his own business. Hayes crafted homes ***. Clients knew him only as the quiet guy who showed up early, worked hard, and fixed things others left broken. They never saw the limp as weakness. They saw him as dependable. He bought a cabin in the woods near Lafayette. Just 1 bedroom, a porch and peace. Every nail, every floorboard laid by his own hands. He didn't keep a TV. No distractions. Just music and rain on the tin roof. Then one afternoon, while reviewing rental applications for a duplex he'd recently acquired under his LLC, a familiar name appeared. Malik Thompson. Co-applicant, Tasha Hayes. They had no idea who owned the property. He approved the application. Not out of mercy, but because karma doesn't need an invitation. Just needs a front row seat. He visited for routine inspections. Malik never recognized him. Deshawn's beard was longer now, his body leaner. Tasha barely made eye contact. Their unit was chaos. Toys everywhere. Dishes unwashed. 2 kids. Stress in every corner. The Instagram glow long gone. Through thin walls he heard the fights. You said this would be better than him, she yelled. Malik barked back something about being broke and stuck. Deshawn never reacted. Just repainted a wall. Tightened a loose gutter. 6 months later they missed rent. Then again. Malik had been fired. Tasha was cleaning houses. They filed a hardship claim. Deshawn denied it. No breaks. No favors. He wasn't cruel. He was consistent. They made choices. Now they faced them. 9 months in, the eviction notice went out. 30 days. Tasha called the management company, crying, begging. Her voice, once so cold, was now cracked and hollow. Malik never called. Deshawn stood across the street the day they left. Watched them load their children into a dented sedan. No smiles. No hope. Just exhaustion. And he drove away. Quiet. Back at his cabin. He opened an old drawer and pulled out their wedding photo. He burned it in the fire pit. Watched the past turn to ash. Then he sat on the porch, sipped sweet tea, and watched the sun set. Not because they suffered, but because they no longer had power over him. He had turned pain into purpose. Built a life from the ruins they left behind. And in the years that followed, he hired men like him. Forgotten men. War vet. A young ex-con. A single father. Trained them. Paid them. Gave them purpose. He never mentioned Malik or Tasha. That part of the story was over. This one wasn't about revenge. It was about restoration. And Deshaun Hayes, quiet, steady, whole, had become the kind of man no betrayal could ever break again.